Today I'll be working on making our app highly available. To accomplish, I'll set up an application load balancer and AutoScaling group. Starting in the EC2 dashboard, on the left-hand side, we'll select Load Balancers, and then Create Load Balancer. We're going to create an application load balancer. We'll go ahead and name our load balancer. This is going to be internet facing. We'll scroll down to our VPC section for network mapping and select the appropriate VPC. We're going to select both of the subnets. Our security group, we're actually going to go ahead and create a new security group. This one's going to be for HTTP. And then we'll add an inbound rule. For HTTP and anyone. Create that security group. Now that our security group has been successfully created, we'll click back over to our load balancer, refresh, and then we could go ahead and select that one. Okay. Now we'll go to the listeners and routing section. We're going to create a target group. Instances will be the target group name. Okay, this is fine. VPC, we're going to confirm that's correct. And we'll proceed down to the health checks and expand that advanced health check settings. Health checks are what the load balancer uses to determine what instances can handle requests. So we could set a healthy threshold here for 2. This is how many consecutive health checks, successful health checks that are required before considering it healthy. The unhealthy is basically the opposite. We can put this up to 5. So how many failed health checks before considered unhealthy. Timeout, we could change this to 30 seconds. So after 30 seconds, it'll be considered a failed health check. And then interval, how many seconds between the checks. Okay, 40 seconds. The rest of this we'll leave. Select next. Next, we'll register our targets. So this is going to be the target employee web app LB. This is the instance I created for this. We're going to go ahead and create. Okay, so now that we've created our target groups, we're going to click add it here and go back into our load balancer. Okay. And then we're going to refresh. Select our web app TG, target group. And that's it. We're going to scroll down, create our load balancer. Okay, so successfully created. A couple minutes, our load balancer is going to show as active here. So we'll give that a couple minutes. And then once it's active, we're going to go in here and test it to make sure it works. Now that it's active, let's test it. Select the load balancer. We'll copy the DNS name, open up a new tab, and then we'll paste it in there. Okay, great, it's working. Now we'll add in the AutoScaling. Back to the EC2 console for AutoScaling. First, we need to create a launch template. This will tell the system what kind of EC2 to launch when AutoScaling is triggered. So we'll go here to the left, Launch Templates, Create Launch Template. And this is going to be exactly the same as what we've been using this whole time for our server machine. So we're just going to duplicate that right now. I'm going to just jam through it. Provide auto-scaling guidance. Select that. For the AMI that we're going to use. I have the one running that we're going to use right now. It's just basically the web application or the instance that I created for this project. We're going to go ahead and select that one because that's what we're going to duplicate. For instance type, we're going to select this free tier eligible T2 micro. For key pair, we didn't have a key pair here, so we're just going to select don't include in launch template. Subnet will also select don't include in launch template. Firewall, we're going to select an existing security group. That's going to be the one that we've been using for these. And then we'll expand advanced details. We want to make sure we have that IAM instance profile. And then we'll also want to make sure that we paste in our code here. Oops. Copy it. Okay, so here's our code, and then we'll change some of the specifics. We are in West 1. All right, so we're going to create that launch template. All right, so we've created the launch template. I'm going to view that. All right, so we have it here. Everything looks good. Now let's get down to the auto scaling here and create an auto scaling group. Go all the way to the bottom. Create an auto scaling group. And then this is going to be web app ASG. All right, for launch template, we're going to select this one that we just created. Click next. VPC, of course, we're going to want to make sure that's in the correct one. And then availability zones and subnets, we'll select both of our AZs and subnets. Attached to an existing load balancer. This is our web app TG. And then health checks. Our load balancer is going to do that. So we're just going to skip through there. Just checking everything real quick. Next. Okay, for our group size, we're going to have 2 as our desired capacity, 1 in each AZ. For scaling, we're going to say minimum desired capacity is 2. Max is going to be 4, so this will scale up to 4 instances. Okay, now we're going to set the target scaling policy. We'll change the target value to 60% CPU utilization. So once this application hits 60% CPU utilization, the application will scale and it'll create more EC2 instances. Everything else looks good. Select next. You could add a notification if you want. I'm not going to right now. Okay, just review everything to make sure it looks good. We have our AZs. Okay. And then we'll create the auto scaling group. To test the auto scaling, we're going to do just one thing here. So I'm going to go back into the EC2 console. I'm going to go down to target groups, and I'm going to select our target group, and we're going to just take a look at what we got going on here. So right now we have 2 healthy instances launched in each one of our availability zones. I'm going to go back over to the application. On the application, I'm going to append the website with info. There's a built-in stress test here that we're going to take advantage of here. But first, before we do, let's take a look here at the instance ID that we're currently using and then the availability zone. As we refresh, this should toggle through the availability zones here. So you can see that we have one launched in West 1C, so we just switched over, and then back over to West 1B. So that seems to be working. Our load balancer is doing just fine. Now let's generate a stress test, and then that should overload our CPU, and it should create the auto-scaling, or the auto-scaling group should start creating more instances then. So I'm going to select 10 minutes, and then we'll jump back over here, and we should start seeing some more instances being generated here. Okay, now that we've given this a couple minutes to refresh, you can see that there have been additional instances automatically created and added to our groups. So now each availability zone has 2 instances running, and that's due to the CPU stress test putting those cores over 60%. So that's it. We built out our application. In the next video, I'll demo setting up a monitoring system with CloudWatch.